There. Why don't we try with the mic on? Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first ever Pokemon Radio Pro Pokemon Revolution Online podcast. I don't know if I could keep screwing up that intro or not. I'm Vortak. Thank you for joining us. I am here with our very first co-host, Mr. Dreadlow from Dreadlow Gaming on YouTube. How's it going, sir?
It's going good.
Thank you for being our very first guest. And the reason this is so special is because Mr. Dreadlow here isn't very familiar with the world of Pokemon. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm fairly new. Yeah.
Fairly new.
I know who Pikachu is.
Well, the reason I thought that would be really cool is because we are doing this show for people who may not even know what Pro is yet. Primarily people who have been playing the game, or people like me who sit in queue a long time and eventually give up because we can't get in and there's so many people trying to get in. So the reason we wanted to make a show like this was to help those people that are waiting in queue kind of have something to listen to, something to do, and maybe play some Pokemon Revolution while they listen. So thank you for joining us. If you're joining us live on beam.pro/Vortak, that is my beam.pro channel. Also a very new streaming service. And we thought new podcast, new game, new streaming service, new everything. And we'll also explain where we come from and who we are towards the end of the show. But why don't we jump right into the first portion of the show, and that is going to be about some of the news going on in the game. And the biggest story, of course, is the adding of the Hoenn region from Ruby and Sapphire, which people are very excited about, and I think it's coming just around the corner. The last update we got from them was on the forums. They're 95% done with mapping, which I'm guessing is 99% of the battle.
And that's going to add about 134 new Pokemon.
If they follow, the way the games are structured, yeah, I would imagine. I think they're doing more than what's in the base games at this point, though, because you can see legendary Pokemon from I think maybe even X and Y now in the game. And I'll let you know right off the bat, we're not 100% professionals at this game, even though it's called Radio Pro. That's not us. I, for one, am very new to Pokemon Revolution. I've played a ton of Pokemon Game Boy games, but I'm very new to Pokemon Revolution itself. I think I'm up to the point where you get onto the SSN. So not very far. Have not made much progress. Where are you at?
Where am I at in Pokemon Revolution?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I think I've got about 3 Pokemon right now. I've got Pikachu was the first pick, because it's funny because when you first go into the to talk to the professor for the first time to get your first Pokemon, there's 3 on the table.
Yeah.
When you first walk into his desk. And he says there's another one floating around here. Well, of course, me being the intuitive kind of guy that I am, I'm not going to pick those 3. There's one floating around here somewhere, and I found him in the back of his room there, and he was kind of in the middle of the screen on the floor. So I picked him, and it was Pikachu. So I grabbed it.
Nice. The only Pokemon you really knew of.
That's the only one I knew of. So the other choices, I didn't know who they were or what they were. I was just thinking, maybe Pikachu is going to be a good bet. But from what I understand, nobody picks him. So, because he's old.
Well, I think you're joining Pro at the right time, because what's cool about this game is it's developing at, a rapid pace, but it's developing in the same order that the Game Boy games came out, leading up to the DS and so on and so forth. So Hoenn is the 3rd region, also the 3rd kind of, I guess, generation, if you will, and that is very exciting, especially for someone like you who didn't really... Did you play any of the Game Boy games? I don't think you did, right?
No, none of the Game Boy games. No, I go back to Nintendo, so it's like I don't even think they had... Well, I think they did. They had Pokemon back then, but it was like the first one. I never played it, though, so...
Yeah, red and blue. Good old red and blue.
But yeah, as far as where I'm at in this game right now, I have just, because I didn't know what I was supposed to do, kind of, and one of the things that I kind of complain about in the game is for people who, I guess, obviously they're catering to those that know about Pokemon and know what Pokemon is.
Yeah.
But for somebody like me who's never really played it, I'm going through the motions and looking for NPCs to talk to learn more about what I'm supposed to do. Now, I have an idea. I'm supposed to obviously fill up my Pokédex to where I get all the Pokemon and gather achievements,
I
which
mean, if
might
you
be,
want.
badges, awards, or whatever. Um, there are very little uh, quests involved at this point, anyway, in it. And why am I getting messages from you?
I'm I'm not sure.
Okay. Anyway, um, so with these, I think they need more of a tutorial in the game so that
Okay.
it helps you out, in the very beginning of the game. But other than that, I mean, I think it's fun. I love the graphic style. I think that, you know, they've improved the graphics. Uh, in other words, it's not like a super pixelated game like you would see on Game Boy. Um, but it's like improved graphics, obviously, for computers. So it looks a little different than what you'd normally see in a Pokemon game, and
Yeah.
I like that. And then right now I'm progressing through this. I had found out from you, obviously, that yeah, you just keep going north, keep going and going to these other areas. But I've always been kind of leery about that. I try to level myself up before I go to a new area or find all the quests that are involved or whatever.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
important in this game especially. It's completely
right.
rebalanced from the Game Boy games, is what I've learned. I spent probably a good 2 hours in Mount Moon, and I just got obsessed with leveling my party to 20. Every single one I had to 20, because I knew, I was told anyway, that when you get to Misty, the second gym, her party is in the 20s or late teens. So that I found very helpful because I was able to, and I felt like I was challenged in the gym for sure, but I felt like I also had a nice advantage, but I could have just ran through Mount Moon. I've done it 1,000 times, so it wouldn't have been a big deal. But
Right. I haven't.
how excited, or for me, I almost want to use the word intimidated by a third region getting added when you haven't even like cracked the first one yet. Because
Well,
if you think about this compared to like World of Warcraft, another massive MMO, it took them a year or two to keep adding regions to it and stuff. So people had a long time to like play through all the content in the first one. We're about to get a third whole world here, and
and
especially for
it's
someone like you.
progressive though. It's progressive. I still have to start in the beginning. I still get to go through the first areas. I still can progress to the third, but it does put some pressure on me because I know I need to catch up. You know what I'm saying? I need to get to where I need to go. Um, I think most of the I want to say hype with this right now uh, just started. I mean, I think that they've been doing this since August of 2015, right? Or that's when it was actually, wasn't it released in August 2015, or they were
Yeah, it's
in
been
a
around
beta
for
phase,
a handful of months now.
right? And but now it's starting to really pick up steam, and there's a lot more players, like you said. You're putting queues and things like that right now. Hopefully that'll change. They'll add some servers or whatever they might do, but I think I'm okay. I think I haven't joined too late into the game, even though they're adding a third area.
Yes.
I should be okay.
Real quick, for those of you watching the video podcast, whether it's on YouTube or live on Beam.pro, I've put up it's silenced, but it's the first episode of my Pokemon Revolution Let's Play, and it kind of shows you the very first area you'll start out in, and it'll just go from there. That's just going to play in the background while we're talking here.
Yeah,
But what I wanted to
I
point
think
out, what?
I was gonna say I think I skipped Brock somehow. I don't know what happened. I went to him. He's one of the gyms or that I get involved with, right? Is that how
Yeah,
that
he's the
works?
first gym.
Right. And so I went to him, and of course I didn't have a Pokemon yet. So instead of going to the professor, which I think it was trying to get me to do, I went down to the mother, right?
Uh
And then
huh.
all of a sudden, time progressed, and I became an adult, an older teen or whatever. So then I need to go to the professor, and I completely somehow missed that whole
You
whole
so
thing.
what happened to you is kind of what happened to me because in the Game Boy game you don't start out in a weird, almost tutorial island like region. You just start out in Pallet Town. So and you just go straight to the professor and get your first Pokemon. What this was trying to do is introduce you to some of the characters in the game and give you a feel for the game itself. And the reason I brought this up is because this area they've created when you start in the game that never existed in the games I've played is the perfect area to kind of implement a tutorial of some kind, in my opinion. I think they should transform this area instead of like, oh, here's where you get introduced to your mom and Brock and the professor. They should
Right.
probably make it so as you go south, you learn different things about Pokemon, and maybe even you can opt out of it. They just asks you at the start, hey, have you played Pokemon before, or are you an idiot? And you could just select, I'm an idiot, and then it'll bring you
Y-
through an actual legitimate tutorial.
Correct.
That's
Yeah.
that is something I think would benefit someone like you, especially. Also, another friend of mine, Mr. Weem, he may be on the show here next week or the week after. He's also a Pokemon virgin, and he's very interested in trying this. But he may start to see some of the same struggles that you've seen, where you don't really know the game's not giving you very much direction, and it's very
Correct.
targeted towards people who have played the original Pokemon games before. Uh, but this is, it's free, and there's no reason why it can't be targeted to people who have played the current, or I'm sorry, no reason it couldn't be targeted to people who are brand new to it and try to get new fans. Especially because when I first played, when I was a kid, I thought it would be so cool to play this with other people. It'd be so cool if this was a multiplayer experience, and all they gave you was trading and battling. And now
Right.
we have the
And
opportunity to add quests and all kinds of stuff.
I've seen some on there are some online versions of Pokemon,
Yes, this is
but they're
not the
not
first for
as
sure.
it's not, but they're not. This one is. Oh, how do I describe this? I guess you could. Okay, this just. I'm going for it. Okay, you got peanuts, right? Okay, you've got Planters peanuts, and then you got this off brand. Well, you got Planters peanuts. The reason why they're so good is because they keep the peanut oil in there. They don't take it out and use it or extract it and do whatever they need to do with it. They keep it in there. The other companies, they'll extract the oil out and put some other vegetable oil in there. That's why they don't taste as good. That's what this Pokemon is. They left the peanut oil in there. You know what I mean?
I It's a
This
weird
is all
analogy, but I'll give it
it
to you.
is. I mean, what I'm saying is they've left all the the ingredients of the original Pokemon intact. You go to some of these other ones, and I don't know if it's because they don't want to get in trouble with copyright or whatever, but they kind of leave out you know some of the main ingredients of a Pokemon. This looks more like what I've seen in an actual Pokemon from Nintendo. It's the real stuff.
Yeah.
The way it works, and so that's what's interesting about it. The concept of having a pet, throwing it out there, and having them do battles is awesome. I got it. That's the reason why I was a hunter in World of Warcraft. I love having a pet with me and being able to put that pet into battle. And then they come out with battle pets in World of Warcraft,
you
which
you
is very
played with
similar
battle
to
pets
Pokemon.
before playing with Pokemon, and I'm sitting here like, oh
Exactly.
my god, they added Pokemon to World of Warcraft, and you're like, oh sweet, pets you can battle with.
Exactly. So, the concept is I love it. I love the idea, and I'm just glad that somebody's come out, with a really good. This is really a good game.
Yeah.
I could see it going places.
So you have yet to fight your first gym battle then.
I don't. If you want to consider the Eevee
Yeah, no,
when
that's
you
not.
talk to
You'll
them.
you'll know when it's a gym battle because you have to walk into a facility that is a gym, and you'll fight one or two trainers before getting to the gym leader, and
Oh,
he's
gotcha.
he's like a boss fight. And what's interesting is that his Pokemon's levels are hidden by question marks. At least they were for me, and I found that very intimidating. So, and so is the lackey you fight before getting to him. I'm like, okay. So I barely scraped out of that battle alive somehow, and I managed to train some more, beat Brock, and went into the Misty battle a lot more prepared. And I'm getting ready to fight Lieutenant Surge after you get off that boat, the SSN, which you'll get to eventually. So I love what they've done with the progression system in this game because they made it a lot harder to just blast right through. It feels rebalanced and it feels like a Pokemon MMO should. Whereas it's very easy to just leave everything as is, add a bunch of players to the world of Pokemon, and let them wreak havoc. And so everyone gets
Right.
through all 8 gyms in no time flat. Takes them a few days to beat it, and now they have these massive parties, and they don't play the game long enough. It's easy to get burnt out once you've beat the final boss in any game.
Oh yeah, yeah. Once you're done, that's it.
So then
That's
you're
why.
you're stuck making events all the time and getting people back in. Keep playing.
And then you just stand around and battle each other, and it gets kind of redundant and boring. But yeah, I mean, for me, uh, like I said, there was no direction. So I listened. The professor basically told me, he says, "Yeah, I haven't gotten any more Pokemon. Go out into the grass areas and look for more Pokemon. Battle them out." And so that's what I've been doing, and I didn't realize that there was other options. I can go into gyms and take care of business that way. I haven't actually done a battle with an actual player yet,
I
and I
haven't
think
either.
it's because
I
I'm trying to get used to it first before I do that. I don't
Yeah,
want to get my butt kicked on the first time and go, oh, that guy right there, he's funny, and then everybody's coming up here, oh, this is an easy win. Let's pick this guy.
yeah. I haven't messed with any other players. Someone challenged me once and I just walked away. I'm just trying to like get through the first few gyms, get my bearings again. And what I really love about this though is the UI. Because if you play other Pokemon MMOs, and even if like we just got the Red and Blue, Mojo and I, she's actually here, producer Mojo. Uh, we both got Red and Blue on the 3DS, and the UI in that's like terrible. It's so hard to like navigate and reorganize and do everything because it's back in the day they didn't give a crap about that, and they've improved it so much on the 3DS, in the newer games. So when I get into this game and it has this click and drag interface, I was so excited. Like it just, especially coming from playing that like just a little bit ago, it has an awesome interface, and especially compared to other Pokemon MMOs I've played, I love it. Like I think they're doing a fantastic job, and the frequent updates are really cool too, considering that this is kind of like just a passion project for the developer. I
Right.
mean, if you go on the website, it says on his profile like this is just something I do in my free time. So I can't even imagine how they're feeling right now. Just probably bombarded by people asking them questions. When's the next update? Especially the power players who are playing all night long and beating all the gyms, grinding like crazy. Uh, so yeah,
Oh
they
yeah, yeah, I could see an addiction happening. Definitely.
Yeah. And in fact, in the chat here, Mr. Evil Scotsman says that they wish developers more open to discussion, which is a really good point. I don't. I know they're present for sure, but I don't see too much. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm not looking in the right places. But is there like a massive lack of communication on the forums when it comes to, I don't want to say update progress, but really when anything's going on? It's that last Hoenn update we got, it said 95% of the mapping's done, but that was a little while ago now. So I'd be curious to know where they're at. If they said 95% and they're taking a week off, or
Well,
oh
from what I see here, if I'm not mistaken, this message for the Hoenn update progress at 95% done was in October 16th of 2015.
2016.
It says 2015
Oh,
on
oh, oh! I thought I
on.
heard you say. I'm like, what? How in progress? Okay, something came up recently. Maybe it was on Twitter.
Maybe yeah, I just noticed that right now when I looked at the Hoenn update. I
I
looked at
didn't
the
see the
date.
date. Hmm. Hone update progress, battling system discussion. Yeah, so there is
And
some.
that's
I would appreciate a little more in the announcements section, personally.
okay. You know what I'm thinking? It's giving a generic date, I think. They need to update their website possibly. Because if you look at everybody's October 16th,
Well, that was
pretty
probably the
much.
responses.
It could have been, but
But I'm seeing it has 43 pages. So chances are, yeah,
yeah.
people are just still talking about it. I think it was mentioned somewhere, and that's why it came up. It kind of pinged me like, hey, this is the new region coming soon. And I'm pretty excited about it. I think it's just around the corner, especially with this influx of players. That also means an influx of donations. And if you donate to Pokemon Revolution, you get perks. It's $5 a month, and you can keep these perks. There's members only areas, and so these are things that are going to make them more money. And if it was me and I had a job where it was taking time away from doing something like this that I'm passionate about, if I was making more money, I could afford to take time off work to work on my passion project. So we could see something like that happen. There's also a nice big chunky list of staff members that have a hand in development, mapping, artwork, things like that. So I'm sure that's also moving things along. Um, but for people like us who are just starting, and the fact that these servers have been so hard to get into, I think for me, I'm okay with it taking a while because I'm nowhere near the third region yet. I'm nowhere near the second region yet. So, I mean, that's personally how I feel. But I'm sure a lot of people who've been playing since the game released the second region went through it, and now they're like, oh, I can't wait to play more, But now they might feel a little bit stuck. So I don't know, but I guess in that case, the latest actual piece of news that has happened is the addition of the Blue server, which was huge. That was a massive help. Now I can finally get into a queue. So big thanks to them for that. Because right
Right.
now, with this influx of players, with people like us just learning about it and now doing a podcast on it, people making videos, it's going to keep getting more and more popular. And it's important to have the space to accommodate those new players.
Exactly. One of the things that I was thinking about, give us some more servers, kind of spread it out a little bit, and we'll be fine. And
Yeah.
throw us all the Pokemon you can.
Yeah, it's and they've definitely like I've run into Pokemon from future generations in the first region, so they've done a lot there. But yeah, they have also taken out features. They've made it very grindy, and some people I'm even just reading the chat now, and it's nice to hear from people who are playing the game, other than myself and you, who are expressing their concerns. Evil Scotsman again says that people disagree with the response. It's an MMO. It's meant to be grindy, is the quote. And I mean, that's personally, when it comes to MMOs, I would disagree with that in 2016 because there's nothing people I've seen complain about more, like people like me who aren't hardcore MMO players, but just gamers in general. People complain about grinding. I complain about grinding. It can be very tedious and it kind of takes the fun out of it because you forget what you're even doing. You're just kind of like leveling up and watching numbers go up at that point. Um,
Well, the thing I was going to say, the thing is with grinding is better when there's a great reward at the end.
yeah.
And a lot of the MMOs, they just make you grind, grind, grind for it. And you go back and take back, like say in a regular MMO, you take back the quest after you gathered 20 skull bones from whatever. Take it back to the quest giver, and he gives you 105 gold. That's it. Oh
Yeah.
wow, I wasted all that time just for that. The reward wasn't there, and that's the kind of grinding that I think that we hate the most. But when it comes to the rewards of grinding, you know, fighting those Pokemon, getting those levels and achievements and rewards and things like that, then the grinding is kind of makes sense. You want to work hard to get the great reward. So
Yeah.
it makes
Well,
sense in that way. So
let me explain something to you and then launch into an explanation for everything else or for everyone else as to how I think they should do it versus how it's being done now. In the Game Boy games, in the original games, the way it always worked is that when you first get into Pokemon, like your obstacle after fighting Brock is Mount Moon. You'll go to Mount Moon, you'll fight Team Rocket, and then you can fight the second gym. After the second gym, you go on the SS Hand before you can fight Lieutenant Surge. I consider those to be quote unquote side quests. They deter me. They take me away from my goal. My goal is to fight all the gyms. My goal is to beat the Elite Four, but I have to do side quests first. Now, what I think they should do in Pro, because they have all of that in Pro as is, but what I think they should do is allow it so there are more side quests that they add themselves. and that way they can in turn help you grind to that higher level gym that never existed. Say Brock is, or I'm sorry, say Misty is like a level 20 gym. You go through Mount Moon. While you're in Mount Moon, maybe you add a section to it that you have to get through before you get to the Team Rocket person. You expand the length of time you're playing the game, and that way people don't feel like they're grinding, they feel like they're questing. And you even make those side quests perhaps optional. So if people would rather just grind and not worry about that additional area that never existed, that's their choice. That's their prerogative. I think that would be a great way
Right.
to go about it.
Yeah, that sounds about right because it's also different if you're playing in a single player environment than you are with a multiplayer environment as well because you don't have players that you can battle in a single player except for NPCs, right?
Yeah.
So with that, you have actual players that you can actually battle against, and that makes it much more interesting and much more easier to grind. To level up your Pokemon and things like that. But definitely need the side quests, and definitely need some maybe even a little more storyline to lead you up to that. So you're kind of like, oh, it looks like like you don't know what's going to happen, but in along the way it gives you hints on what's coming up, and prepares you for that. Whereas if you think you're ready and you don't want to go through all the side quests, you could just go all the way, go there and do it and lose.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you on that. Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely some side quests.
I mean that is something they can't just add overnight, of course. I mean, adding side quests, adding additional stories to any game has to be quite the challenge, but they've done it. They have added side quests to this game, and I think that's the coolest thing ever. When I started playing this, I didn't expect to see a side quest anywhere. I was planning on just playing another Pokemon MMO where I had my party, I battled and fought all the gyms, and I could fight other players, trade other players, things like that. Maybe there's an economy that trades items too. And they've been working very hard on the balance of all that. Another thing they did is, at least for now, I'm not aware that you're able to fly or you have to get to a certain level to fly. It's either one of the two. And the reasoning that someone was saying on the forums, and it could have just been someone blowing smoke, but the reasoning was that if you use the subway system and you pay money to use the subway system, it gives the server a way to dump people's money. Because if you've ever run a Minecraft server, for example, you know that if you try to implement an economy, eventually people just start saving all the money. There's nothing to spend it on, so you have to create money sinks. And I thought that was also a very interesting way to do it. Limit travel, so you have to have a money sink.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
apparently there's a flying
speaking.
quest, I'm being told.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's from what I understand, you'll be able to fish for Pokemon as well. Um, that's another question I have. Maybe you might be able to answer this when it comes to the money situation within the game. Uh, I saw that down in the lower left hand corner of my screen. I saw an amount of money. I think I had like $9,000 or something like that. But when I go into the actual store to purchase whatever it might be, or I just wanted to see what was in there, it had a different kind of a currency, which obviously you need probably real money to get this stuff. Where do I use the money that I have in game?
The money you have in game can be used in markets.
Oh,
Uh,
in markets with it.
yes, there's Pokemon
Yeah.
centers and there's marts in the game. You can go into one of these markets and buy Pokeballs, potions, antidotes, all this stuff, and that's kind of where your money is mostly spent. You'll be battling, and you'll realize, oh my god, I have no potions. I'm about to die. I should have probably hit up a market before I went into this gym battle. And
Right.
what sucks is that because of the way they've done the game, there's a bike, and the bike helps you travel very quickly in Pokemon. And people, they have to get the bike right away. Well, it takes some time. You have to get almost halfway through the game in some cases to get that freaking bike. Well, in this game, they make you save up $75,000 to get the bike. So I would warn you to
Wow.
save your money. But you're
Yeah.
also, I've already found a need to buy potions and things like that because I don't like redoing things. And I'm personally like, I like going into a gym battle maybe a little underprepared in terms of level, so I don't have to grind. I could just use a couple of potions to help me get by the skin of my teeth. So I've spent a little more on potions than I would care to admit. So it's going to put me
Well, that's
behind
why.
on getting my bike.
Yeah, well, that's the reason why I told you that I didn't want to leave the area I was in because I could just go right down to the mother and everything can be replenished. And so I was afraid to leave and go further north and then have to come all the way back down. But because you do have a limited amount of potions. There was no place to buy anything within where I was at because obviously I was still kind of in the starter region, so there wasn't really anywhere to go. Um, I just need, like I said, I just need to keep going north and see what I can find.
Yeah, yeah. You just need to learn to play the game.
Yeah,
Let
exactly.
it progress you. I would say that once you get to Brock, you can try fighting him. You know, there's no penalty for trying, and maybe you'll be a higher level than you think you are, and you'll win, or maybe you'll get blacked out and realize, okay, I should train a bit more. Um,
Yeah,
but what's nice is that there are areas to train in, and the further towards Pallet Town you go, the easier the Pokemon get, and the more you progress through the game, the harder they get. So you can kind of decide what area to train in. You can battle other trainers, of course, or just keep fighting Pokemon in grass until you get to all your party leveled up to a decent level, and or not even all your party. Just what's cool is if you have a water type, and I don't know if you can get one since you have Pikachu, but if you manage to get your hands on a water type, you can beat Brock no problem. That's easy. Otherwise, if you didn't start with a water type, you're gonna need to like get like a Pidgey or something and level him
yeah.
up.
Like right now, I've got to find a Pokemon that does head bunts because there's lots of Pokemon that hang out in the trees asleep, and
Yeah,
I
you'll
can't.
get that later on. That'll There's a few ways to get headbutt.
Yeah, and so
So
that's one of the things that. So there's little goals like that. I love that. I love the fact that okay, well, I can't get to those guys because I need a Pokemon with headbutt.
wow, I didn't know
So
that.
once I get that, yeah,
No,
what?
sorry, I just saw something in chat that kind of blew my mind a little bit. Apparently, you can sell membership to other players. $5 equals 100 credits. 100 credits equals membership medallion. So
Huh?
that's pretty cool. That's pretty damn
Yeah.
cool. So, anyway, sorry, interrupt you. We are getting close to where we need to wrap up. This is a half-hour show generally, but we stick around after the chat. We will be taking questions and things like that if you're watching live on Beam.pro. And real quick, I wanted to explain to people who are new to this podcast where we came from. Dreadlow, myself, and our friend Jemmy, we all did a podcast called Everything Noob, and this is going to be posted on that old YouTube channel. I've renamed it. I'm rebranding it. But Radio Pro is going to live there on YouTube. We're going to have an iTunes RSS that's going to get updated, so you can download the podcast on iTunes and possibly Stitcher too for Android users. I'm still kind of asking around where Android users get podcasts these days. But anyway, Everything New was a gaming podcast. We talked about all sorts of things related to gaming, just big gaming news stories, and shared our opinions and things like that. We did 140 episodes before finally calling it quits. And I thought it'd be cool next time we do a podcast to focus in on one particular niche group. In this case, Pokemon Revolution Online came up because we were all very interested in it. So here we are doing a podcast on Radio Pro Pokemon Revolution, and yeah, it's really exciting. Where really it makes it a lot easier on us to kind of have one game we all play and we kind of talk about just that game. So half-hour show, two people talking, and every week we'll be discussing news. We'll be discussing stories, kind of like what you got tonight, where we kind of, especially with indie games like this, it's easy to kind of make recommendations and fantasize about what the game could become. So there'll be a lot of that stuff too. So I just wanted to thank you all for coming to the live show. Really cool for you to give our inaugural podcast a try. And we'll be back same time next week, 9 p.m. Eastern on Monday. And we will also have it up on YouTube either tonight or tomorrow. And I'll get the iTunes stuff set up as soon as I possibly can. So it'll be there for you as well. So with that, I just want to thank everybody. Dreadlow, thank you for being here.
All right.
And
Sounds like
keep playing the game, man. Learn some things.
I'm going to. I'll be a lot more knowledgeable the next time.
And a big thank you to producer Mojo hanging out and chat with everyone. You can say hi.
Oh, hi.
Blowing out the mic.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, and peanut oil for the win.
Peanut oil for the win. All right. We will see you next time. Thank you guys again so much. We'll be back next week. Catch you later.